Hi, I'm Debbie Barnett, and before watching tonight's episode of Expert Connect, please watch this short video on the new American Mahjong Rules app. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to MahjPedia, proudly presented by MahjCon, the pioneering app that provides comprehensive information on American Mahjong rules, strategies, fun facts and much more. Sign up for a 3-day free trial so you can explore the app. Download the app from the Google Play or App Store. Or pause the video and scan the QR code to take you directly to the app. Watch the entire How to Use MahjPedia video to learn more. With MahjPedia by your side, you'll never have to worry again about a disagreement around the Mahjong table. And you'll always feel confident when a student asks a question about rules. MahjPedia, always at your fingertips, up to date and easy to use. Thank you for watching and for supporting MahjPedia, brought to you by MahjCon.
Welcome to another Expert Connect, and I'm Debbie Barnett, and it is my pleasure to welcome a true luminary in the realm of Mahjong. Gregg Swain, a celebrated co-author of several books on Mahjong, stands as a distinguished authority on the artistry, symbolism, and history of the Mahjong tile. Her insightful contributions and dedication to preserving the legacy of Mahjong have not only solidified her reputation as a foremost expert, but has also enriched the understanding of enthusiasts and scholars alike around the world. Join us as we delve into the captivating world through the eyes of Gregg Swain. And without further ado, let me welcome Gregg Swain to Expert Connect. Welcome, Gregg. It's so great to have you with us tonight.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Debbie. Thank you so much for inviting me. And of course, I love chatting about Mahjong, so this is just so exciting for me.
Yeah, and I knew that, so I had to get you on this show for sure. And I was so excited to be able to learn from you, and I can't wait for tonight. So I'm going to start out with my first question. What initially sparked your fascination with Mahjong tile artistry? And how did you become involved in exploring their intricacies?
It really started long before I even learned the game of Mahjong. I would go to antique shows and they would have these big bowls of old Mahjong tiles, and I would look at them and they looked so mysterious. I really wanted to know what they were, but I had no way of learning what they were. And I knew about the game of Mahjong because I grew up in New York where people were playing Mahjong a lot, even out on the streets in the summertime. So I knew about Mahjong. I didn't learn how to play until 2010. And so we learned with a modern set, but I thought, well, I really like art. Let me see if there's something old out there. So I spent a lot of time poring over, photographs of sets on eBay and every place else. And I thought, oh my goodness, these tiles are just beautiful. I want to know what they are. And lo and behold, there was nothing written about what they were. So that was very exciting. But I didn't know anything about Chinese art. I decided to teach myself about Chinese art, which I did. I gave myself a crash course in Chinese art. And then I was really able to understand what the images were because there was nobody to guide me, because there was nothing out there. So it's a fascinating journey.
Wow, you had to really dig deep, but you tapped into something very unique. So, right. Well, unique for us here in America, right?
Right. Yeah. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Oh boy, that's really cool, Gregg. Now, as an expert in Mahjong tiles, could you share some insights into the craftsmanship and symbolism behind these tiles? What makes them unique and culturally significant?
Well, they really are kind of a glimpse into the old tiles are a glimpse into old China, and it's really fascinating to see how things changed over time. But we really don't know that much about the history of Mahjong because when Mao came into power, he ordered all the Mahjong sets in China to be destroyed. So everybody had to throw away their Mahjong tiles and Mahjong sets, and some of these were really treasured heirlooms, and also all the company records were destroyed. So we really didn't know anything about Mahjong, and everything that we've done, we've just tried to put together ourselves as best we can. But I'm going to show you some images right now. I do want to say that there's a new video out right now that you can see about a man making some bone and bamboo Mahjong tiles, which is quite interesting. It's quite a process. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to grab, oops, let me just see. I might have gotten, this might have just, this might be, oh, this is all the way at the end. Sorry, didn't rewind. Sorry. Okay,
No.
so here we go to tile symbolism and craftsmanship. And the reality is that in China, there just is so much symbolism in everything. And I'm just going to give you a quick overview because I could just stay on here forever. But right here is one of the tile sets from Mahjong Sales Company. And they were really the first foreign company to go to China and make sets that they were doing for export. And so you can see here that this is a celebration of what everybody thought about China. It's different modes of transportation and it's different types of architecture. So this was armchair tourism way back in the 20s, which is when this was going on. Here is a celebration of Chinese weddings, and they were very elaborate affairs, and I just thought you would enjoy seeing this little lady has just gotten married, and she has to sit here on the marriage bed while her husband here gets to go downstairs and party with everybody, including acrobats. And so God only knows what kind of shape he was in when he came back after the big party while she was sitting there waiting on the bed for him. So this is,
Funny.
I just wanted to show you there's so much symbolism in everything. And up here you can see these are endless knots, and they're symbols for longevity. In Chinese art, basically, if anybody says what is it a symbol for, if you guess longevity, you're going to be right about 75% of the time. So here we've got symbols for longevity. Here we've got down here, we've got some squash. Why are squash on Mahjong tiles? Squash have a lot of seeds. This was a wish for a lot of children. We've got goldfish up here. They were symbols of like hoping for good fortune also. And then down here we have boys, because it used to just be boys on art. But now we get to have girls too. And these boys were having a good time. Here's another one. This is a story that everybody in China would know. We don't know what the story is, but the artisans wanted to send the story out that they knew. And then here are some wonderful tiles. Debbie, you just wrote an article about dragons. Here's a Chinese dragon here. He's up in the clouds, and Chinese dragons play with pearls. So here's his pearl over here. And then these guys would have all been from operas. So, and everybody in China would have an opportunity to go to an opera, and that's what the guys thought that they should have on Mahjong tiles. These are wonderful creatures, and here's another dragon here, and here are some of the other mythological creatures. I just wanted to share with you that this is a turtle, and yes, it is a it has a special status in China. They thought turtles were so scary they couldn't even say the name. They called it Dark Warrior. And one reason they thought it was scary is they didn't think that there were any male turtles. So in order to have babies, the female turtle had to mate with a snake. So there you go. You learn so much when you study.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah. And then here's just another wonderful layout of, here's a phoenix up here, a mythological creature, and then the dragon, and his body is hidden by the clouds. So it reminds me a lot of the Loch Ness Monster. And you'll notice that I had to put the tiles out 4, 3, 2, 1, because the Chinese read from right to left. So in order to understand the images, I had to do it that way. And these are just I just wanted you to see, we're not going to talk about them, but these three next slides are images from the Japanese Mah Jongg Museum, which unfortunately has closed. Now, remember, the tiles would be about an inch high, and you can see the incredible detail on these tiles. I guess that's why they were in the museum. These, once again, with those wonderful infinity knots. Here we've got peacocks in the middle of all these dots. Fabulous. And then here's another one with peacocks. And then this is a Buddha's hand. It's a special type of citrus fruit, and it symbolizes happiness and longevity. So that's just a quick tour of some of the symbolism that you'll see on tiles.
That is cool. Let me go on to my next question, Greg. In your exploration of Mah Jongg tiles, what are some of the most remarkable or intriguing discoveries you've made regarding their design, materials, or historical evolution?
So I will go ahead and share again. So it really is, it's fascinating because the Mah Jongg tiles started out as cards, but then they were playing the game all the time and the cards would get torn and everything. So they turned to something that was more durable every place in China, which was bamboo. And bamboo lasts a long time, but there's a reason why we have bamboo cutting boards. It's really hard to carve. So the artisans turned to bone, and you can see how much more detailed everything is on these particular tiles, and these are quite beautiful.
Oh, these are so pretty.
Yeah. And there's a lot of significance here to absolutely everything on the tile. But, so believe it or not, they did start to run out of bone in China because China was very, very poor. And actually, the Mah Jongg business saved the Chinese economy in the 1920s. The Mah Jongg tile export was number 6 on the list of exports. So it was only 5 things were exported more and brought in more money than Mah Jongg sets, which is just incredible. So luckily, because they were running out of bone in China, something came on the market, which was plastic. So this is a type of plastic called Chinese Bakelite that could be carved. And then, of course, they started mass producing things. These are some tiles made by the Mah Jongg Sales Company. And so these were mass produced tiles. And so this is really what started happening probably in the 30s, maybe late 20s, early 30s, were mass produced. And Debbie, you included, I think, some of these Peng Chao dragons. This was the company with real dragons, because the dragons used to be a symbol. And these are just something that Dee Gallo did recently.
Those are so fun. Those are fun.
They are marvelous. And what I didn't realize, I thought, oh, well, it was a year of the rabbit, so that's all wonderful. But they're in dragon boats.
Yes, cool.
And so they're the dragons. And then here are some other dragons that Dee did too, and they're so charming. And then this is a set that Chris Lloyd did, and their dragons are adorable too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, those are so cool. Oh, all right. So let's move on to my next question. And that is about the books that you have co-authored. What inspired you to write books on Mah Jongg? And can you tell us how these books came to be?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, as you heard, I started to do a lot of research about Mah Jongg, and then there was nothing out there. And I thought, well, I've always wanted to do a book. Maybe I could do this book. So Anne Israel and I had taken lessons together. And so she had a column, and so we got together, and she thought it was a great idea. And she happened to know a photographer who was a friend of hers, Michelle Arnaud. And then Michelle was married to a book agent. And then my husband, Woody, was a creative guy. So the 5 of us really put the book together, and we were delighted when Tuttle wanted to publish it. So that was fun. The only problem was that we didn't know anybody who had any sets. So then I, of course, we spent a lot of time poring over websites, and we contacted the people who were on the websites who seemed to have beautiful sets. And so some of them were Catherine Hartman, and then Susan West on the West Coast, Bill Price in England. And so we put the book together based on the internet and who had good photographs of sets. And we traveled to these people's homes. And so I'm just going to show you, this is just funny. This is Catherine Hartman's home. And here we are in her front hall. And so Michelle is the one in the front with the gray hair. And then his assistant is Pavel. And there's my husband, Woody, in the back supervising a shot. Here's me in Catherine Hartman's living room. She obviously was not doing much living in the living room when we were there. And then here's her dining room. So they really had to almost decamp to the backside of the house when we were there. But we had a lot of fun, and putting the book together, we just did it by materials. There was no way else to do it. So we just did like plastics and bone and bamboo and different like precious materials and some odds and ends. But it was a lot of fun to put it together. A lot of fun.
I would imagine it had to be a whole lot of fun and just learning so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fabulous. Now, how do you believe the artistry of Mahjong tiles contribute to the overall experience and enjoyment when we play the game?
Well, I just think it's so lovely to be able to play with beautiful pieces of art. And that's what we're doing. And some of the tiles are very simple, but they mean a lot to people when you play with them. So for example, you're playing with art, but you're also playing with little pieces that have made people happy throughout the years. And I just think that's so very important. And if you look at some of the images and begin to understand them, I think it adds a little bit of fun to the game too. Sometimes I actually like to play with some very pretty sets because I know some of my friends will keep those special pieces for longer. It's kind of a little bit of a strategy thing, and they discard them as quickly. But it just is fun. But the other day I saw a big discussion about the Joker tiles and what's a Joker tile. So I wanted to show you, this is actually what the original Joker tile image should have been. So this is a dragon playing with a pearl, and this was a 1 dot. And so then what the companies did that were making Mahjong sets and Jokers, they just made the image a lot simpler because it was a lot easier to just stamp a simple image. And so this is really what it is that you're playing with when you have a Joker that's in a circle like that.
It's interesting because I've said to people, because one person said, this is such a weird design. And I'm like, well, that is a dragon's head, right? And they're like, no, it isn't. And I'm like trying to point it out. Look here's the fire, and some people just can't see it.
I know.
Not that easy to see, really.
It's not. Well, I always say that with Chinese art, you have to know what could be there, and then you see it. I mean, there are a lot of tiles that are so cryptic, you don't know what they are, but turns out like one can be the game of Go and one can be a calligraphy thing. But if you know it's there, then you can see it.
Yeah. Now, are you one to dress your table up and match things and have the decor, look like your sets? I know people really go out of their way to do that. And from what I understand, there are some collectors out there that do like to bring out their special sets on special occasions and play with them.
Well, I do like to bring out sets on special occasions and play with them because the sets want to be played with, and it makes it more fun for everybody.
Yeah.
I do not dress my table as much as some other people do, but it is fun, and I do that on some occasions. I sometimes like really color coordinating the back of the tiles with the racks and with the color of the tablecloth and everything. It's fun. And it's about fun.
It is. And somehow when things look pretty, especially us girls, we like it. I mean, the guys might too, but I know we do. We like pretty things. So.
We do. we
All
do.
right. My next question for you, Greg, is what distinguishes the various styles or designs of Mahjong tiles? How
Okay.
have these designs evolved over time?
Well, they have. So I'm just going to show you. This is just your early 1920s old bone and bamboo set. And the Chinese really liked rounded corners. They
Mhm.
also like to decorate everything a lot, but these aren't over decorated. But anyway, but you can see the rounded corners that appear. And so this is a Chinese style. Um, this is an Austrian style because they weren't the Austrians and the Germans weren't allowed to import Chinese items back in the early years. And so this is Austrian, and you can see how very different this style is. It's very energetic. I kind of feel like the tiles are going to the images are going to run off the tiles. So this is an Austrian style, and this is from Canada. And it's really beautiful. And what you'll notice here is how very different the dragons are. They're figural dragons, but remember, Canada was associated with Europe, and these dragons look very much like what you would see on a shield if you were going off to war or whatever. So this is a Canadian set.
Those are
And
fun. Those dots are fun too, with all the different colors.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on, are there any particular stories? I love to ask people for their stories related to the creation or significance of Mahjong tiles that you find especially noteworthy.
Right. Well, China was really having some difficulties when Mahjong came into being in the 1920s. So they wanted to celebrate things that they were proud of in their history, some real stories. I showed you before some made up stories, and there would be goddesses and different people in their fictional history, but there were things that they wanted to celebrate in real history. So here's a bridge, and actually this bridge was built in the year 1000, but it was a very important bridge, and I liked it because you never see 8 tiles connected like that.
No, look at that.
Oh.
Now
And
those are those flowers?
these would be the flower tiles. Yes,
Oh
yes.
my goodness.
I know, it's crazy. And then those are all like banners and everything. They were having a parade on top of the bridge to
Yeah.
celebrate it. Maybe they did it every Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year,
So
but
that's
that,
actually a puzzle.
yeah, yes, it is. It is.
That's so cool.
And then this is just this was how they wanted to celebrate the opening up of China to international trade, because China had been closed off. So they opened it up to international trade by rail and by sea. And we all know how that worked out, right? It
Yeah.
worked out pretty well for the Chinese.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, I love the way they connect like that. I remember doing things like that as a kid, making different, like trying to do the cartoon thing. That is really, those are beautiful.
Yeah, they are fun. They are fun. So it was
Wow.
all about celebrations of China, throughout history, but these were real things to be proud of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got a lot of enthusiasts watching us tonight. For those that are interested in understanding more about the artistry of Mahjong, what advice or resources would you recommend to them so that they can deepen their appreciation for this aspect of the game?
Right. Well, of course, I would say Mahjong, the Art of the Game, is a good place to start, my book. But there are so many places now on Facebook, different groups where you can post photos and ask people about it. Usually people who know about Mahjong art are going to be more than happy to give answers. And if you know the answer, you can provide answers too. But so Facebook has really become a very good way to get more information. Of course, there are videos on YouTube, etc. But it really is, if they really want to learn about Mahjong art, just get some books on Chinese art. And there are some very simple books. I gave you, Debbie, a couple of ideas, and I know you said you were going to list it in the program
I
notes or
certainly
something.
will.
Yeah.
Yes.
But those could be very helpful.
Excellent. Excellent. And how does the art of Mahjong reflect or connect with broader cultural themes or historical contexts, if at all?
Well, fascinating area. We've been talking before about celebrations of Chinese culture and history, etc. But something really amazing happened in the 30s because China was at war. The Japanese invaded China and China was at war. And believe it or not, the Chinese craftsmen used Mahjong tiles to send out the word that bad things were going on in China. Now, this next set of tiles is a set that is in our book. It's actually supposed to be about the Wuchang uprising, which happened in 1911. But none of they didn't have airplane warfare going on in 1911. So this really is a bit of a representation of what was going on in China in the war against Japan, because Japan invaded Shanghai in 1937, and things were really very bad. You can actually see somebody's dead in this tile over here. So this is very graphic. So this is war was going on. Now, this is an absolutely crazy story. I bought this set of tiles because it interested me. And as you know, sometimes we put our names on tile cases. And so this man had his name on this tile case. He was a Brit who was in Shanghai. He got to Shanghai in 1925, and he was a very prominent citizen in Shanghai. He left Shanghai, though, probably in 1938. So the Japanese invaded in 37. He probably left sometime in 38. And there was this sticker on the other side of the case, which indicated that he took the Terakumi Maru ship away from Shanghai. Now, what's fascinating is that this is a Japanese ship. So we have a British man going on a Japanese ship in wartime with a Mahjong set.
Oh my goodness.
These are the tiles that were the flower tiles on the Mahjong set. Here we have a bomb hitting a Japanese person.
Oh my God. Who would ever know that, Greg?
Well, it's just really, it's really crazy. And it's all about like we will prevail. And so he took these tiles, he risked taking these tiles to England because he wanted to show people in Europe and in England, this is what we think, what was going on in China and how the Chinese felt about it, because nobody in the world was paying attention to what was going on in China. So the artisans who probably were in Hong Kong, not in mainland China at that time, were sending out these words via Mahjong tiles to people saying, this is what's going on and please help.
It's like it was code. I mean, that kind of blows my mind.
And he must have been a diplomat because otherwise he would have been searched, because how could you possibly dare to take these anti-Japanese tiles onto a Japanese ship? And he was on the ship for 2 weeks. So anyway.
Well, I hope he was a good Mahjong player too. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let's move on. So today, we all know there are many new tile designers out there. There are so many sets on the market. Your mind could just go bonkers trying to figure out what you want to buy, okay, big one, what you can afford is a really big one. Could you speak to these new trends or developments in the world of Mahjong design? I mean, I really want to know what your thoughts are too on when it all kind of started and how how did this just bombard like this? It just blew up with all these new designers.
Right. Well, I mean, quite honestly, tile design was changing in the 1920s. I mean, some of the sets that were in the Mah Jongg Museum that I showed you, like the dots were peacocks,
Yeah.
and then sometimes the BAMs could be longevity symbols, etc. So things were really not the way that everybody assumed they were. As a matter of fact, it was the Americans who were in China in the 1920s who changed everything. And they got there and they thought that Mahjong would be very successful if it were exported, but they wanted to have bamboo, the suit become a real bamboo suit. And it actually had been strings of coins that the Chinese would use. And so they changed the strings of coins into bamboo. The dragons weren't dragons. They were archery symbols, but the Americans said, oh, we want to have dragons because everybody knows that dragons are Chinese, so we have to have dragons. And they started out as the Chinese writing for dragons, but then they became figural. So the game really has been changing from the very beginning, but the Americans really were responsible for some of the big changes. And so now we have some other wonderful craftspeople who are getting involved with different designs. And I think a lot of them are just marvelous. So I'm going to show you, this is a set that Dee Gallo did for Gammon Village. And you can see that it's just a little step above everything else. And with some ties to some of the older vintage sets here, the cracks are decorated. They're always like the most boring set, but here they're not. They look very pretty. And we got some darling dragons, and then the winds are decorated, and then she's done some wonderful butterflies. So this is just a wonderful set that Dee Gallo did. Here's
and of course the panda. I do want to the Joker. The panda is just darling.
He really is darling. But of course, you know, we think about pandas eating bamboo in China. So she was very clever and she's put the panda right there.
Yeah.
This is just one of the sets done by the Mahjong line. And this still pretty much looks like a Mahjong set. You wouldn't have any real trouble understanding what tile is what. And that's what I think is important to look for. This is just a very pretty set that a beginner really could play with. There are some sets I'm going to show a beginner can't play with. This is a set designed by Catherine Hartman, and Chris Lloyd did this. This is called the Mother Nature set. And you can still basically see these are BAMs. Of course, these are cracks. And look at the darling dragons. And these are dots. I mean, this would be a wonderful set for anybody to play with. And they could understand what things are.
Exactly.
This one is harder. I happen to love this set. It's done by Chris Lloyd, but this was done by a New Yorker cartoonist. And up here we've got the dots. Up here we've got pandas eating bamboo. And these are the cracks. So the vase is cracking. And people think it looks like pizza too. And then here are some flowers, and then the winds, and then the darling dragons at the bottom. These dragons are brushing their teeth and flossing, I think.
Adorable.
It's too cute. But this one you have to really think about when you're playing. So this is a set for an advanced player who really wants to think about things.
Yeah. Cute.
This is another Dee Gallo set, which is just, you know, precious with those dragons at the bottom. And then these are sets made by a woman, another woman crafts person, Karen Aruba, who's in Hong Kong. And this is a celebration of England. So here we have them playing cricket. Here we have Big Ben here. Billiards, and I think this is a phone booth or a mailbox. I can't remember. So this is another, and then this is a celebration of Hong Kong. So here you can see one of the boats, etc. I really wasn't able to see it too clearly, but anyway, so this is another direction that I'll stop the share now. So this is another direction that people are going in right now. They're celebrating their locations. They're celebrating what they want to celebrate. And there was a woman on Facebook who was talking about making her own tile set. So she said she designed some stickers. She bought a regular run-of-the-mill set, and then she put her own stickers on top of the tiles. So she really had a wonderful personalized set of Mahjong tiles that she and her friends were going to enjoy playing with. And then when I was thinking about this question, Debbie, that you asked, I thought, I wonder if people are going to start with 3D printers, making Mahjong tiles, making their own Mahjong
Oh,
tiles.
I'm telling you, I mean, well, first of all, I mean, we had this wasn't about, you know, how these tiles are made and the painting and the hand painting that some, you know, and I see today some people say when they're advertising that they're hand painted, hand engraved, but do they really hand engrave or hand paint today, Greg?
Yeah, well, a lot of people do. I mean, I've been to the Chrysloid I mean, it's a factory, and yet people are sitting there painting the tiles.
Right.
And
Well,
I think,
I know they do, but I mean, some of the other ones that look kind of like run of the mill are advertised as
I don't
hand.
know. I
I don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know. I have to hope that there's truth in advertising, but
Yeah.
I do know that a lot of these sets really are hand painted. They can use some kind of a machine. It's not necessarily a machine, but I think it's called a pantograph or something that really can help carve the tiles.
Yeah.
And so that can be helpful. And then they paint them. But all the designs are right now, thank goodness. I don't know how long I could say this for. All the designs are coming from people's heads, not from AI.
Yeah,
So
that's good. That's good. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so looking ahead, what do you see for the future of the Mahjong tiles? And where is this art form heading?
I think it's heading in lots of fun directions. I think that I think that there could be a lot more tile sets like, you know, the celebration of London or the celebration of Hong Kong. It's just like Monopoly just used to be all about Atlantic City, and now you can play Monopoly about different cities all over the globe.
Mhm.
I see, I'd love to be able to see some of the online games using some special tiles. I mean, special visuals so that you could have a feeling that you are playing with a wonderful old set. I think that would be fabulous. So I think the world is open to lots of different types of mahjong sets, but I think they really have to look something like what we're expecting them to look like. Something has to be skinny to look like a bam. Something has to be roundish to look like a dot, and something has to be something else to look like a crack. And we have to be able to identify everything else. And I do think that some of the sets are way out there,
Mhm.
and I have trouble wrapping my head around them. I have to
Yeah.
say, pretty used to wrapping my head around mahjong sets, and some of them I can't do.
They're just like out of the box,
Yeah,
totally, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention something though
Mhm.
about playing with different sets because, you know, mahjong is a wonderful game and we love it because we're with our friends and we're having a good time and we're escaping a lot of the things that we're worried about, but we're also exercising our brain.
Mhm.
And if you can play with different sets, even if there are just slight differences, your brain is going to have to work a little bit more to go, oh, yes, that's what that nine bam looks like, or that's what that flower looks like. And you're giving your brain a better exercise. So I think it could be fun to have, you know, one person has one type of set, another person has another type of set. And every time you play with those different sets, you're getting a different exercise for your brain. And, you know, that's so important.
Yeah, and not for the beginner though.
Not for the beginner.
Definitely
For
not
the
for the
beginner.
beginner.
No, no.
I
They should have like warning notices on the box, not for beginning play. One teacher here in New York told me that somebody was so excited they bought a set. And she went there and she thought, how am I going to teach the game of Mahjong with this set? Because there was nothing hooking it into, the regular
The
suit.
traditional crack bams, yeah, and dots, yeah. No, I agree. Of course, some of the ones that are out of the box are a little pricey too. So a lot of beginners aren't going to buy those, but maybe the instructors are. So the instructors hopefully know that they're not going to be teaching with one of these fancy sets.
Right.
All right, well, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So I want to see if we have any questions here. So we do have a question from John. He wanted to know how many American Mahjong sets are extant today? How many are in existence today? And I don't know exactly if you can answer that.
I can't answer.
I'm not sure, John, do you mean how many of the older sets are in existence today? Or yes, how many of the older types of sets are still in existence today? That's a hard one though, isn't it?
It is a hard one. I really don't know how to answer it. But I do know that people used to throw Mahjong sets in the garbage. And I'm so delighted to say that now that people realize that Mahjong sets actually are wonderful and actually could have some value, people are not throwing them in the garbage. So, and people are going up to the attic or down to the basement or out to the barn, and they're finding some old Mahjong sets. So that makes me happy. So there's a lot more saving of Mahjong sets than there used to be. I keep thinking, no, well, all we should do is just go look around in the dumps. We'll probably find a lot of wonderful Mahjong sets there, but I don't think anybody's going to do that.
Amazing how many sets are probably just sitting around and nobody even knows that the value of them.
Right.
Karen, watching from YouTube, said, this is so interesting. My sister-in-law has our aunt's Mahjong set from the early 1900s.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's so marvelous to have. I think it's wonderful to have an old set, because you think about these tiles and how the tiles have made people happy sometimes when they really were really down in the dumps. But to have a family heirloom like that just makes it even more special. That's really, I'm very, very happy for you and your family that you have a wonderful old Mahjong set and that you're still continuing to enjoy it.
Exactly. And I hear stories all the time about people that found after their mother passed away, they never played Mahjong themselves, but after their mom passed away, they found the set and it inspired them to learn the game. And then they get to play on their mom's set. So that's beautiful. Now, Carol from YouTube said that she finds some of the sets in a tournament throw the advantage to the owner. Can you speak to that at all? I'm not sure if I've seen that myself, but maybe, I don't know.
I don't play in tournaments, but I do think that there might be a little something there, because I think that owners, well, you kind of want your set to be loyal to you, but they aren't always. But I think owners know exactly what their tiles look like, and there's a little bit of unfamiliarity with everybody else. I know a lot of tournaments are very strict about what kind of tile sets you can take.
They want it white and clear, because some people have trouble seeing some of the other materials and colors. Yeah.
Right.
So definitely. And then Kimmy said, fascinating historical content, and she thanks you so much for the information. Let's see, Karen said, I'm still learning and purchased a card for her and me. I'm not sure who her is. I'm hoping to get her interested, as she won't give me. Oh, Karen, you're talking about your aunt. Okay. Yes. Sorry. I was not connecting the dots with the text in between. Yeah. Well, definitely. Anybody we can get interested in Mahjong, the more, the merrier, for sure.
And Mahjong really just opens up a huge community, as you were saying earlier, Debbie. I mean, it's this whole group of friends, and Mahjong really creates friendships around the table. And then all the interactions that we have with each other, and watching Zooms together, etc. We really have a whole marvelous group of friends that Mahjong has created.
It absolutely has. And it is such a fantastic game. All right. Are there any other questions that anybody has before we wrap this up? Let's see. I've got Holly is asking, how has the vintage market changed since you started collecting? And by the way, nobody's asked yet, but I'm going to ask. How many sets do you have? You knew what I was going to ask. I need to know.
Debbie,
Come on.
Debbie, I can honestly say I don't know. And I think that's good to be able to honestly say it, because I don't want to know. But I will say that my son moved out a while ago, and he had a big closet, and nature abhors a vacuum. So that closet is full.
Okay, well, I'm going to kind of guess. I have a vision. Okay. All right. So, how has the vintage market changed since you started collecting?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. Anybody who doesn't have a vintage set yet. You really used to be able to buy Mahjong sets for not that much money. I mean, remember, people were throwing them in the garbage, so they would have been happy to get anything for a set. So you used to really be able to buy Mahjong sets for a small amount of money, and now you really can't
I mean,
anymore.
there's thousands. So I watch what people are selling them for. And if you try, to get into buying, which I did at one point, it is so competitive. There are certain people that are constantly on eBay and they're snatching them up. And, you have to know what to look for, right? You need to know you're getting an authentic set. And it was not easy. So I'm like, I think I'm going to stick with teaching and everything else I do.
Right. I was lucky one time. I was in an antique mall, and this one vendor was having a sale, and there was a wonderful set that was a two-tone set, and I think it had been priced at like 85, and he was having like a 15% off thing, and so it was like 70 or $68, and it's actually a set that sells for like $950. So that was my big excitement.
That was your big, that was a great, great find. Wow. Okay, so here's another question. And this is always fascinating to me. Okay, the one beam. I mean, the one beam really is, it's the talk of the town. It's the talk of the country all the time. What is the one beam a bird? Okay, that's the question. And then I want to ask you, why is there so much confusion around what some people call the one DM bird?
Oh, well, okay. So we really don't know why it's a bird. Okay, we don't really know. But when you think about bamboo, birds are flying around in the bamboo fields. And I think one thing that created a wonderful assortment of birds is that a lot of the craftsmen realized that some people would buy a set just for the one BAM. So all of a sudden they were making really beautiful one BAMs because it could make somebody want to buy a set. I know, I bought a set because of the one BAMs. And so, but sometimes they call it like a pineapple, sometimes they call it like a pineapple sprout or something. It could have really started out as a bamboo shoot, and then that kind of looked like a bird tail. We just don't know, and all the records were destroyed, so we'll just never know. So you can just kind of make up your own stories, and nobody can tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, but it's amazing how hard it is for new players to separate that one BAM from the flowers. It just, I mean,
yeah,
it happens.
Right. Well, one thing I do when I'm teaching is I mix up all the one BAMs and the flowers together, and then I make all the students pick out one BAM and then two flowers so that they really get a sense of what's what. But
Right.
it's a learning curve. I think Mahjong really is a huge learning curve, but I think what most people don't remember is when they learn to play cards, learning all those suits was a big learning curve. And
Exactly.
I thought the clubs looked like the spades, and I knew the heart, but and I knew the diamond, but what was a jack, king, and queen, and then what the heck was the ace? So I think people forget because they learn cards at such an early age, and so this is just kind of a whole new. It's really just like learning cards, but when you're a lot older.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Carol, watching from YouTube, would like to know if you have a favorite set.
I was just thinking about that the other day. I have a lot of, I mean, they're all my favorites. But I do have a couple that are very special to me. One is a carved French ivory. French ivory was a type of plastic that they invented in the 20s and 30s that was meant to look like real ivory. And so I have a carved French ivory with 16 flowers on it, which I love. And because you don't need 16 flowers, I put a little tiny like sticker on that's a bright color. So those are the jokers for that day. And then I immediately take off a tiny little sliver of sticker so that the
Good
files
idea.
come back to themselves.
When did they go from being real ivory to when did they stop making the real ivory? Because I have people will say to me, I have my mom's set and it's ivory. And I'm like, are you sure it's real? Oh yeah, I'm sure. So
There are ivory sets out there,
okay.
but most sets are not ivory. Um, China was really, really poor in the 1920s. They didn't even have, they didn't even have cows for the bones. They had to buy the bones for the bone and bamboo tiles. They bought them from Nebraska. Nebraska shipped the bones over to China for them to turn them into mahjong tiles. So anyway, they certainly didn't have ivory. There are a few ivory sets, but most people who have what they think are ivory sets it's really bone and bamboo. And then there were some plastics that were advertised as ivorine.
Oh,
So people could have fallen for
right.
that, thinking that they're ivory. I mean, people have shown me tiles that they think are ivory, and they're most of them are Bakelite. Bakelite.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. And of course, John wants to know if you've considered starting a museum to save all of your sets. Okay, go ahead, Greg. Answer John.
I dream about it. I dream about having, some museum actually have a show of wonderful mahjong sets. So it's still in the dream phase, John. But when people come over, if you come to New York, I will show you some of my sets. How's
There you
that?
go. You'll
That's
open up
about as
your
far as it
museum.
goes.
You'll open up your personal museum. But
Yeah,
that is a great dream. And I mean, I could see it. I can visualize this happening here.
I could too, but nobody's listened to me so far.
Oh, darn, darn, darn.
Nobody with the money and the location has listened to me. Let's put it that
Wow.
way.
Wow. Now Karen on YouTube said that her deceased husband, oh, so sorry, and may he rest in peace, Karen. Her husband used to go to antique shops looking for sets for her, and she didn't even play mahjong.
Well,
Lucky,
that was very lucky, Karen. I
I was
hope
gonna say, lucky
we'll have
you,
those
lucky
sets.
you. Now Holly wants to know if you have any sets still on your wish list.
Oh, absolutely. Lots, you know, Holly, it was a terrible problem doing the first book of the art of the game, because I saw all these beautiful sets out there. And it became a real problem. I love, love, love the plastic dovetailed sets. I don't have any of those. There are lots of sets out there that I would really love to have, but I really at this point can't get another set without getting parting with another set, and it's all emotional about even parting from some of these sets. So
Oh, yeah, I would imagine. Now, Deborah, she made a very good comment on Zoom that there are a few sellers when we were talking about, when I mentioned with eBay and trying to buy them. And she said there are a few sellers on the Mah Jongg Facebook sites who seem trustworthy, from whom one can purchase complete vintage sets versus a stranger. And I agree. If you want to pay retail for them, that would be the way to go, 100%. And when I was looking to get a bargain so I could maybe resell. But it was just, I was a little overwhelmed with it, to be honest with you. And I thought, I'm going to let the ones that really know what they're doing continue to do what they're doing good.
right. Well, Debbie, I started out thinking that I was going to be able to restore sets, and I just I couldn't do it at all. I couldn't paint the tiles. I couldn't do it. And so then I realized I really was going to just leave it to the people who really knew what they were doing and know what they're doing. And it just is, yes, you do pay more, but it really is worth it if you get something from a trustworthy vendor. And there are
Right.
very good people out there, and you just have to look at their ratings and the reviews, etc. But
right. As long as, they know what they're doing, they know that, you're going to get a good quality set. That's the most important thing, completely. Now, Sally, watching from Zoom, said she's a new player collector here. I am trying to find sets at local estate sales and local antique malls. Any other places would you recommend I look? Luckily, I have a sister that can help me determine if it's a good set.
okay. I actually have a book called Mah Jongg is for the Birds, which is a guide to some of the vintage sets. So you'll know how collectible they are. But I never go into an antique store without basically opening up every box that there is. I always ask if they have a Mah Jongg set, and then I go around opening up strange looking boxes, because I have found some sets that way. And so that's a really good idea. The garage sales and the estate sales have them, but lots of times people are going to know about them. There was a set that just went this Friday that a lot of people were talking about. It was a very highly carved set. A lot of people wanted it. So word gets out pretty quickly when there are photos on a website. But so I always say, just have fun poking around and you might get lucky.
You might get lucky. That's right. Oh, cool. Okay. I think, let me just make sure there's no others that I have missed. No. Carol said, thank you so much. This has been very enlightening and enjoyable. And I agree with you 100%. Karen said, Debbie, you have such great interviews. Thank you so much. If I were still living in Florida, I'd head to the villages. Oh, darn. I wish you were still living here. Well, whenever you do come, no, anybody who comes to visit, you're welcome always in my home, and you are guaranteed that you're going to play lots of mahjong. So there you go. But thank you so much. If there are no other questions, a lot of thank yous on YouTube, on Zoom as well coming in. Barbara and Deborah all say thank you so much. And I thank you so much, Gregg, for being here tonight and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. I really need to buy all your books and start getting more into it. And you helped me with that one article I wrote about the dragon. So I definitely want to do more of that. And as I do that, I get to learn from you.
Wonderful.
Which is excellent.
This has just been such a joy, Debbie. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you all for coming tonight. But I obviously love to talk about mahjong, and it's just so much fun, and we all need
and
fun.
it's been great to meet you. We all know each other through Facebook, and as soon as we meet, it's like I feel like I've known you forever already. It's crazy.
I know. It's funny because you just kind of you see somebody that you've been corresponding with, and you just want to give them a hug, although you've never even met them before, but you just feel like an old friend.
I know. It's so true, which is one of the best things about mahjong. The way it connects us all together is amazing. So for anybody who watches after or wants to share about this event with your friends and family and loved ones, this will be up on YouTube in about a day, so you can watch the replays. I know a few people came in late, so you can catch the beginning of it as well and enjoy. And I just want to say again, thank you. And by the way, if you aren't a subscriber of my YouTube channel, please head over to MahjCon, MahjCon, and subscribe. A lot of good content there, a lot of interviews from previous guests that you can watch and learn from as well. Thank you again, Greg, and thank you everybody watching on YouTube and Zoom for joining in tonight. Everybody be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.